I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Michelle, would you take the roll?
Sure. Commissioner Fox, Commissioner Mitchell,
Here?
Commissioner LaRose here, Commissioner McMullen,
Here.
Commissioner Grissom,
Here.
Commissioner Murphy.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is some administrative items for the new year. For 2022, the annual Planning Commission organization meeting. We first have the reaffirm of our bylaws. You all received the current bylaws in your packet, and there have been no changes to those. So if you have any questions, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to reaffirm the existing bylaws.
Support.
A motion by Commissioner LaRose, second by Trustee McMullen. Is there any question on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Second item on the agenda is the election of officers. I think we all received a email informing us that Commissioner Voigt will no longer be attending the Planning Commission meetings. So I would like to take this opportunity to say thank you to Keith for his dedication and his time on the Planning Commission board. So with that said, I open the floor up for nominations for chair.
I'll make a motion to retain Commissioner Fox as chair and Commissioner Mitchell as vice chair for 2022.
I would support that.
Motion by Commissioner LaRose, support by Commissioner Murphy to retain Chairman Fox and Vice Chair Mitchell. Any questions or further nominations? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. That leaves the office of secretary. Do we have any nominations for secretary?
I would nominate Commissioner Michelle LaRose for the position of secretary.
Support?
We have a motion to name Commissioner LaRose for secretary from Commissioner Murphy, support from Commissioner Grissom. Any further nominations? I don't expect any. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, Michelle.
Thanks.
Okay, moving on down our agenda items. Approval of the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda for Thursday, January 13th.
Support.
Motion by Commissioner Grissom and support from Commissioner Murphy for approval of the agenda. Any questions on the agenda or changes? Not seeing any. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item 6A, this is approval of the Planning Commission meeting minutes of October 14th, 2021.
I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from October 14th, 2021.
Support.
We have a motion to approve the Planning Commission meeting minutes of October 14th from Commissioner Grissom, support from Commissioner LaRose. Any corrections to the meeting minutes? All those in favor of approval, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Next item, the approval of the Planning Commission meeting minutes from November 18th, 2021.
I make a motion to approve the Planning Commission meeting minutes from November 18th, 2021.
Support.
We have a motion to approve the meeting minutes of November 18th, 2021 from Commissioner Murphy, support from Trustee Summer. Any corrections or changes to those meeting minutes? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, that leads us down to item number 7, call to the public. If you are here to speak on the public hearing item, which is item 8A, we have a special place for those people to voice their comments on that public hearing. So this call to the public will be for any other topic other than the public hearing. Don't be shy. Okay, I'm going to close the call to the public. And that leads us to item number 8A, a public hearing. This is a public hearing for a special use application number 22-001. I'm going to open the public hearing at 7:07. We will use the following criteria for reviewing the public hearing. We'll take this opportunity to have our planning director, Troy, give us a brief overview of the application, and then at that time we'll have the applicant come forward and give us any other additional details or comments. When that is completed, then we'll open up the floor to the public to hear comment and or questions. So at this time, the public hearing is for a special use on the property located north of Clyde Road and east of Runyon Lake Road. Parcel ID numbers are 4708-04-300-001 and 4708-04-300-002. This property is currently zoned general commercial. The applicant is requesting approval to construct an approximately 6,000 square foot convenience store and an automobile fueling station on approximately 1.8 acres of the parcels previous noted. For the record, all public notice has been met for this public hearing, and I'll turn the floor over to Troy for an overview of the application.
Thank you. Let me start off by explaining where this property is located. This is a zoning map of Heartland Township. Just for reference, this is our major intersection with US 23 and M59. This property would be further north along 23 to the Clyde Road exit, and then once exiting off onto Clyde Road, it is right at it almost appears to be at the intersection of US 23 and Clyde Road, but there's actually a road that parallels US 23 called Runyon Lake Road, and it would be at the north side of that northeast corner of Runyon Lake Road and Clyde Lake Road. The red coloring represents the general commercial There's two properties that are involved. They're fairly large properties. They run kind of north and south in length. One right at the corner, kind of ending in a triangular shaped point, and then the one just east of it's rectangular shaped here. It's on both of those. It doesn't encompass all of this property. It's just at the southern limits, but it encompasses both of these properties. So this is the general area. That's the zoning of that property. I'm going to switch now to a site plan for this project. Just bear with me here. So this is the site plan, Runyon Lake Road here on the west side, Clyde Road on the south side, and then you'll see on there is an access point to Clyde Road as well as an access point for vehicular traffic on Runyon Lake Road. This is the gas station convenience store, and then south of that would be canopy for gas pump islands, and then to the east of the gas station convenience store is a second canopy with some gas pump islands in this vicinity. The reason that this is here tonight, and the reason this is a public hearing, is the automobile fueling stations are permitted in the general commercial, but they're only permitted by a special land use permit. So that means the applicant needed to apply for that. We have to notice this request, which we've done. We have a public hearing for this. And then in addition to the special land use is the site plan. So this is somewhat of a joint site plan and special land use permit. The Planning Commission will have jurisdiction to approve on the site plan, but the special land use permit, the Planning Commission will just be making a recommendation that will be forwarded to the Township Board, and then the Township Board will act on the special land use permit itself at a future date. With that, I'll leave that open for any other further questions as a general overview of the request, the process that is ahead of it, and I'll be available to answer any questions.
Thank you. We'd like to call the applicant forward, and they could give any comments or fill in any of the details.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mike Knowles, N-O-L-E-S. I'm with the Umlor Group, representing the applicant here tonight. The applicant is Michael Yatuma. He is a professional operator of multiple gas station locations. Also with me tonight is Jason Fleece with our office here. He is a professional engineer that designed the plan. And also Kevin Brandon. He is our architect and landscape architect for the project. And also with us in the back row is Vito Pampalona. He is the developer and builder of choice for Mr. Yatuma. Mr. Yatuma couldn't be here tonight. He had a soccer event with one of his children, so we promised him we would represent him well tonight. Thank you, Mr. Langer, for that introduction. That was a wonderful summary of why we're here tonight and what we're trying to do. In your Planning Commission packet, you'll find a wonderful summary that Mr. Langer put together for the project. One of the items I would like to highlight tonight is the compliance with your zoning ordinance. Page after page of this complies, that complies. We've worked for a very long time with your staff and your consultants to make sure that we had a site plan that was compliant to bring forward to you tonight. There are also some other issues highlighted in there that you may want to talk about. Some of the materials on the building, some of the landscaping, several other items that are left for finalization during the final stage, the construction document process. If this body tonight and we respectfully request your support tonight. If this body tonight decides to recommend approval of the special land use and the site plan to the township board for final approval of that site plan, we still have the construction documents and permitting process to go through. And you'll find consistently throughout all of the letters, the review letters, the fire department recommendation for approval, the engineering recommendation for approval, the planning recommendation for approval that you have in your packet tonight. All of them have conditions, and we are emphatically willing to meet all of those conditions that are in that letter. So we can absolutely comply with those conditions. The letter recommends that we handle it administratively during the final stage. There are also other outside agencies that need to approve this project through the permitting process, including the Livingston County Health Department for the wells. This is public sewer, but it has a potable well. So Livingston County Health Department also has a bite at the apple before we're done and get permits to begin construction, as well as the Livingston County Road Commission, who has already commented on our plan. We have some additional information that we can provide tonight, if you wish, regarding traffic and traffic counts and configurations and all of that. So we're happy to answer all of your questions tonight, and we would look to you to guide that discussion to what questions you would like us to dive into, so that I don't just stand here for an hour speaking about things that you're already satisfied with. So thank you for your attention, and happy to answer questions.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I'm going to open up the floor for any comments or questions. There are a few procedural items that we need to address. If you come forward to the microphone, please give your name and your address, and then state any comments or questions. The Planning Commission will not engage in any comments to your questions at this time. You'll notice that several of us will be writing your comments and questions down so that we can address them to the applicant. So I'll open it up to the floor for any comments or questions.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in front of the board and the community today. Just for a little background on who I am, my name is John Abbo. I'm the owner and operator of the Heartland Mobile General Store and Pizza Grill right across the street from the proposed project. I've been doing business in Livingston County, just a little background for me, for 29 years, and of 20 of those years I've been in Heartland Township. I appreciate the opportunity to do business in Heartland Township and take my responsibility to serve this community seriously. Not only have I served this county in the past as a reserve police officer in the village of Pinckney and Fowlerville, but have engaged in giving back to this community in many ways by putting our profits into the community, such as sponsoring and supporting, for example, the Heartland Athletic Department as their biggest sponsor, the Heartland Township through the Winterfest, the Hero Center to help children in after-school programs. We have been providing Heartland High School students with college scholarships. We have been sponsoring the Heartland Senior Center and the Meals and Wheels On program through our turkey drive that provides up to 200 turkeys plus a year for those less fortunate. We are also involved in a very good organization like the Heartland Rotary and sponsoring various events such as the clay shooting event that provides direct help to Heartland charities. We also sponsor our local fire department to support our local firefighters through golf outings, etc. Amongst other things, we sponsorship through churches to feed the less advantaged. These are just a few of the things that we've been involved with in the township. I just want to give you a little background of who I am and what we do. If there's one thing I've learned doing business in Livingston County for the past 29 years, is that you cannot stop growth. I think that would be very irresponsible. But we can manage it properly. And how do we do that? Regarding this project specifically, whether it's a gas station that competes with me, or whether it's a research and development park is not really the issue. The issue is that we get the information on the table before we make a decision. This is good government. Information is power. I have personally witnessed many issues on our corner by being there for 20 years, such as major traffic issues, to say the least. The number of employees that I've noticed in this presentation being represented as 2 employees, when we run our operation with between 30 and 35 employees, is not realistic. That poses a major issue in representing parking spots. If you look on the map during the site plan, if you look over on the right, you see those additional gas pumps there on the side. Those are supposed to be, according to my understanding, diesel pumps, but I'm not sure if they're going to try and get the diesel pumps. And that would cause a major, even more major traffic problems on our exit with more semi-trucks coming through the area. Without talking to the road commission, and I mean, as it is, the 2-lane highway could not support the traffic that's coming in for this project. This is only the beginning of the issues of this project. I believe, personally, that this project is being misrepresented in a lot of ways, which the applicant will have many opportunities to prove me wrong. Our consultant is here today to explain these issues to the board and the community, who will have the opportunity to speak after me. I'm appealing to this board to consider the common sense and logic of what we have to say. At the very least, table this project, okay? Until all studies have been done. That's how we manage growth, by getting the information first before we move forward, especially with the issues that we're going to bring to your attention today. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Michelle Dale Cannert. This is my husband, Robert Cannert. We are lifelong residents in Heartland Township. I would like to voice some concerns that my family and I have with the rezoning of these properties, the tax parcel 470804300001 and the one that ends in 002, located on the northeast corner of Clyde and Runyon Lake Road. I would like to address 3 areas of concerns with this application request. They are environmental, lighting and signage, and infrastructure. Environmental concerns. As stated in the site description, and this is a quote, the plan shows an existing wetland within this project area. The wetland will be filled as part of the project. Based on communications with the state of Michigan, Great Lakes Energy, EGL, this appears to be an isolated wetland and is not regulated by the EGLE. Thus, a permit is not required. Who made this decision? That is what I would like to know, that this is an insignificant wetland, not worth saving or replacing. What criteria was used by the Livingston County Drain Commission to make this determination? The wetland in question is a small spring pond. It has been on that property for 50 plus years, as long as I can remember, and I've lived here for 60 years. Spring ponds are known as wetlands that flood and retain water during high precipitation. This area is home to migrating birds and other wildlife. Geese, ducks, cranes, hawks, songbirds are present there at various times throughout the year. Spring ponds are also breeding grounds for reptiles and amphibians. How will this wetland be replaced when it is covered with impermeable surfaces? Will a replacement retention pond be put into place so that it can capture all the runoff water? What measures are going to be put into place to ensure that the contaminated runoff from this site will not just be emptied into the storm drains and not emptied onto the open land? Other environmental concerns I have is with a small tributary or creek. And if you would pull up that map that you had at the beginning, I'd appreciate it. It runs through our property and onto the parcel directly to the south, which is part of the application property. If you look at the official USGS topographical map of Heartland Township, you will note that the application property is at 1,000 feet above sea level. The tributary lies at 950 feet above sea level. Any runoff from this property, which according to the application will be handling gasoline and other petroleum products, will enter this tributary and ultimately Ore Creek. What guarantees do we have that this will not occur? What preventative measures will you put into place to stop the contamination of our township's fresh water supply? Lighting and signage. It is noted in the application what the lights will be. This plan shows that the lights are downward directed, but many have very high lumen capacity. What guarantees do the local residents have to have light shielding that will limit the amount of light pollution in this area and for the residents? During the past 2 decades, each additional project that has been added to Heartland Township has forever changed our dark skies of this once rural community. A project such as this, with multiple lit areas from dusk to dawn, without very specific restrictions, will forever change the night sky in our neighborhood. As noted in the plans, there will be a mounted ground sign. What guarantees do we have that this sign will not obstruct the line of sight at the corner of Runyon Lake and Clyde Road, looking east? To experience a similar scenario, I invite you, the board members, to use southbound US 23 at Clyde Road exit, and then try to turn left or right at any given time of the day. The obstruction of the guardrail completely blocks oncoming traffic from the east, making it nearly impossible to make a turn onto that often hazardous and busy Clyde Road. If the signage becomes a problem, what recourse do we as residents have to fix that problem? Infrastructure. You've spent if you've spent any time at the corner of Runyon Lake and Clyde Road lately, the intersection was developed in 1958 when the US 23 highway was initially planned and implemented. 64 years later, this area is a traffic nightmare. Just last week, on Monday evening, there was a severe accident that was 2-car accident that completely closed Runyon Lake and Clyde Road for several hours. The intersection was completely shut down, and this was during a very busy time of rush hour traffic. Each and every morning and evening, traffic backs up across the overpass, and there's extremely high wait times on Runyon Lake Road. If there's an accident on US 23, traffic gets rerouted onto either Old 23 or Runyon Lake Road, further adding to this existing congestion. How is another entrance off of Runyon Lake and Clyde Road, as proposed, going to help this busy intersection? Fixing the problem after allowing a property to be built is not a proactive infrastructure policy. As someone who lives on Runyon Lake Road, I have serious concerns about the statement given in an email that said, Jason, with regard to the approach of Runyon Lake Road, due to the low speeds and traffic volume, we should accept 10 straight feet ahead and 50 feet from the right turn and 50 feet deceleration taper instead of 100 feet. Again, have you been at this intersection? Low speeds? Runyon Lake's a 55-mile-an-hour road. Last time I checked, low traffic volumes? I was just there this morning, and there were 18 cars at the intersection when I was there at 7:20 in the morning. How is this current two-way stop going to manage all of this traffic? Again, I ask, have you been to that intersection lately? Who's going to pay for the improvements to Runyon Lake Road? The asphalt surface is over 20 years old. It was resurfaced after complaints to the township 20 years ago when the improvements were made to US 23. No improvements have been made to this road since then, except for occasional patching. Runyon Lake Road needs curbing, shoulders, and resurfacing. Is there going to be this in the plan? If not, how is this road going to handle hundreds of cars and trucks every day going in and out of this business? As residents and taxpayers, we want assurances that the infrastructure problems, and let me tell you, they are problems, will be fixed before growth occurs. Finally, with one gas station convenience store already at that corner, which has been there since 1967, if I am correct, why do we need another one? Does the population in this area warrant another gas station? Is rezoning the property for this purposes really the best purpose for this general commercial property? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Dale Brewer. For those of you that don't know me, and many of you do, I'm a licensed real estate broker and a licensed builder in the state of Michigan. I have worked as a consultant in both Michigan and Ohio and around a number of other different areas with many of the premier attorney firms in the state of Michigan, as well as Ohio, and also a number of the premier planning companies. I've been called as an expert witness on a number of situations and worked with both townships and with developers, depending on whichever is the most appropriate. Something that happened to me yesterday I need to share with you. My 20-plus years, actually more than that, of being a combination of a township supervisor, a trustee, and also a licensed real estate broker. I received a phone call and I received a threat from this developer. I don't consider this a light matter. What I've experienced is a situation that appears to demonstrate they wish to bully their way through the situation. They don't care about what's going to take to make things happen. This is not anything that I've ever experienced before with any and all of the developers that I've ever worked with. It's unheard of, and I'm really sorry to have to say that, but it's something that you need to be aware of, because you can hear them stand and say they're going to follow all the rules, they're going to follow all the regulations, but it appears their method of getting there is to attempt to bully people into their decisions. I do understand, and I realize the confidence, and I put all my confidence into you as members of the Heartland Township Planning Commission. You've been appointed, you've been elected to represent the people of this community to the best interests that you have. You've all taken an oath of office. You've stated that you'll uphold the laws in the state of Michigan, the Constitution of the United States, and also uphold all of the ordinances of Heartland Township. So it's really something, again, that I'm proud to be in front of you for. I've met a lot of you in the past. I've known a lot of you in the past. I've known you've worked to be elected. I know you've hard worked to be appointed to this commission and make these difficult decisions. You are going to make these decisions, again, based on what you feel is going to be the best interest of your residents, your businesses, and also the visitors to your community, which are immense. In viewing both the site plan and the special use, there's a number of things that have come to my attention that seem to be lacking. I have presented you with a copy of many of those items, and I let you with a hard copy tonight, and I believe you received an electronic copy yesterday. Again, my confidence is you will look at the ordinance, and where you see the word shall, you will all understand that that's not an alternative. That means that these actions must be done prior to site plan approval, or you're jeopardizing the ordinances that you're bound to enforce. So please look at each of these. These are all critical issues that you're looking at. These people here, what you have is a list. You have a group of individuals that formed an LLC. These are all investors. They're not, I don't think that any of them are residents of the community. They're going around, they're buying up gas stations. They're also developing gas stations. They have more than one interest. I don't have any knowledge of what their management staff is or how they plan to manage this or any other one, but it's very difficult versus someone that's a resident of the community or someone that takes residence in the community and takes a firsthand interest in it. Their proposal, I can tell you, is not going to be cheap. And I know that they take this in hand when they look at it. they're looking at probably someplace between $7 and $9 million to invest on that corner. That's a lot of bucks. And their interest is going to be more in profit and loss statements than it is in the community. It's quite typical of investor groups. This group may be different. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt until they prove me otherwise. I'd also like to mention a firsthand experience that I've had. They're proposing and branding this as a Marathon gas station. Marathon seems to be looking for locations all over to site gas stations. I have personally been involved in 2 or 3 other locations that Marathon has gone into. I don't think they take an adequate look of everything that's involved when they go into these stations. Many of them are barely hanging on. What happens is after a period of time, you're left with an eyesore. You're left with a potential contaminated area in your community, and you have to decide what and how to have it taken care of. I'm not saying again that this is what they're going to do, but again, I have experienced other Marathon locations that just don't have the necessary traffic after they've pushed to get it in. I can't say this is what this is going to be, but again, keep in mind, Marathon seems to have some type of an ulterior motive. I'd like to also mention, again, and have you realize you have 4 gas stations or fueling stations and convenience stores located on M59 just north of here. One of those stations, the Speedway station, happens to be the highest volume Speedway station in the state of Michigan. It's a pretty good compliment to them. Again, nothing wrong with competition, but again, they're already established, they've got their clientele. How many are going to leave for somebody else? You go up the road, you've got the Clyde Road station that's already there. You go up the road further at Center Road, and you've got another gas station. You've got a pretty good coverage of the area with a number of nozzles to fuel the people that are moving up and down US 23. More nozzles doesn't mean that that it's going to create more usage. Your usage is controlled by the people that go up and down that road every day. So again, I want to make those statements. One of the other things, and again, it was mentioned by the previous person speaking and also by John and also by the presenter. Traffic impact is a major concern in that intersection, in that area. Again, it's being presented as adjacent to US 23. It's not. It's adjacent to Runyon Road and Clyde Road. You have 2 entrances. You have an entrance and an exit ramp at US 23. You have all of these competing for the same area. You have a lot of competing for left-hand turns, which is where your problems occur. Within the last short period of time, I believe 12 months, you've had in excess of 40 accidents at that location already. I don't know if there's been any deaths. I don't know the seriousness of each one yet, but you have a major problem already existing, which is going to be exacerbated by, again, putting in more left-hand turns. Their entrance is directly across the street, and it's going to encroach on all 3 of the entrances of the gas station, the mobile station across the street. All of those traffics from both exits and entrances are going to be competing on a 2-lane road. That road already backs up on many occasions, especially during the cider time when that cider mill's operating at full capacity. If you're down there, you've seen backups going all the way onto US 23 exit. It's not going to be decreased. And all of these things need to be taken into consideration. I think it is essential. And again, within your ordinance, it says you shall have a traffic study performed prior to any approval of a site plan. So again, I emphasize that. because it has not been done. And without that, you can't tell what type of improvements may be necessary, what type of warrants may be necessary to complete this. This has been also confirmed by the Livingston County Road Commission. Your overall impacts, again, have been discussed briefly by the previous presenter. Again, I emphasize those. The wetland that's being projected to be filled not only handles the necessary overflow and from the area itself and in the spring, but you have an agricultural flow that's coming all the way down. Everything drains into that from all of the Spicer fields there. There's no place else for it to go. And there's a substantial amount, again, that's going to be dealt with. Where and how that's going to be handled has not been described. It hasn't been emphasized, and it needs to be addressed and looked at carefully by the township engineers. The reason I say that, this is not a county problem. This is a township problem that needs to be dealt with. The Drain Commission is not subject to controlling these. Only the county is, or only the township is. So if it creates a problem down the road, they're going to be back. They're going to be looking to the people here in the township. Troy doesn't need that type of aggravation. He's already got enough. He's already met me. You've also got a proposal for an underground storage area for your stormwater. This is not one of the most preferred methods of containing stormwater. And the only reason it's being proposed on this site is because there's an incident in the amount of area that's there is insufficient to put any type of a basin in there to handle and to manage the water that's going in. The question becomes, if this overflows, where is it going to go? How is it going to be handled? Again, these numbers aren't there. Again, if you look at your ordinance, it says the Township Planning Commission shall make these decisions. So please look carefully at that. It's already been mentioned about the pumps on the east side of the building. Going through the plans, there's a conflict in the plans. In one sheet, it shows it as a gas island. On another sheet, it shows it as a diesel island. It has to be clarified. These changes should be made on the plans before anything is completed. You have to know, again, what is going to be there before you can, again, make any decision. Parking. Again, I counted only 40 parking spaces, although they're indicating there are 42. The difficulty, again, goes to the fact that they're representing themselves as experienced in managing convenience stores. I don't know how many convenience stores they have that are 6,000 square feet that are going to have a food distribution center in it, as well as a gas station facility, as well as your hard goods that are on the floor. But I don't see any feasible way that they can have that in their other stations. They'll have to address that. But to put in two is simply, again, making a misrepresentation to keep the parking spaces to a minimum because they can't create any more.
Let me interrupt. If you could you kind of wrap this up?
I sure can. I'm on my last item here.
Okay.
I guess that I just feel it's necessary to reaffirm that you, as township planners, are the people that are responsible for requesting and determining these items. Again, the word shall repeats itself numerous times in your ordinance. In speaking with Troy, the Director of Planning, he's indicated to me these are decisions that the Planning Commission solely has to make. based on his overview of where the site plan is and where the special use is. So that burden lies on your shoulders, fortunately or unfortunately. But please take it into careful consideration. Secondly, if you're not comfortable with this, your ordinance, again, allows you to request and have a professional consultant brought on board. And again, that cost has to be borne by the developer, not yourselves. So you have things within your ordinance. You have a lot of different things there. The items, again, have been expressed to you, I think, in pretty good detail. As far as the concerns where I think the ordinance has been missed, I ask that you take special look at those. I ask that you request or that you place this on a table until those items are before you so you can make a good educated decision. Thank you so much for your time. I didn't mean to take advantage of it, but there's a lot there. There's a lot of responsibility on your shoulders. Thank you for allowing me to speak that long, Mike. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Steve Hasbrook, 8038 Fawcett Road. I'm a Tyrone Township resident. I have some questions and mostly a few comments. Try to be brief on it. I have experienced this area for a long time, lived in the area for 34 years, and have been a customer of the Clyde Road Mobile for good part of that time, but lately I've been considering going elsewhere because we have non-competitive pricing of gasoline in Livingston County. So I think competition in this case could be a good thing. The question I have is about the parcel. It appears like it's not been divided off yet. You know, you're talking 2 or 3 different parcel numbers, so I assume this is going to be split pending the approval of a special use or something, a site plan. Is that right? Okay. I think the parcel is too small for what they're proposing to do for a couple reasons. One is the question about whether they're going to have diesel or not, and if there's going to be deliveries in there. It just looks like the site isn't set up for having tankers or trucks coming to try to fuel up in there. The site plan does not show where the storage tanks are proposed. At least I don't see where they're showing them. The driveways, I would think that Heartland Township may, in this case, and most places, have driveways designed to where they can provide access to the adjoining development when those come to be, because there will be more development at this intersection. And there also probably should be a different way of hooking the sewer lead to the public sewer. There should be a sewer extension done at this intersection going from the corner. There's a manhole and it should extend up Runyon Lake Road to the north boundary of this proposed site plan. So that's something the township ought to require. And also I would recommend that the operators of this gas station put in a generator, because the power goes out at this location often, so they'd be best served, so they can serve the public better by having power consistently there. And that's all my comments.
Thank you. Anyone else? No further comments or questions from the public? So at this time, I would like to close the public hearing at 7:50. And we will open it up to the Planning Commission for review. If you look in your packet, excuse me, On page 4,
Take a moment and speak. I'd like to, Vito Pamplona, I'm the construction manager on the project. I'd like to take a second to address what Mr. Brewer is saying about me threatening him on the phone yesterday. As you can see, we have a licensed engineer, architect here. We hire these professionals to do this kind of work. I'm a licensed builder and a licensed broker, but I'm not up here telling you that I know more about engineering than they do, okay? You have a real estate broker up here. He's not a licensed architect. He's not a licensed engineer. He may be a builder, but he's speaking upon things that Mr. Langer and my professionals have already discussed. I simply called him and asked him certain questions about the site plan and tried to explain to him that these things have already been addressed. He took that offensively. Now, why he took that offensively, I don't know. But that being the case, he came up here to smear my name. So I apologize. I don't want you guys to think that I'm that kind of businessman. Thank you.
okay, thank you. Okay, again, turning to the Planning Commission. On page 4, your packet, page number is 22. I'm looking at the paragraph about a third of the way down where it reviews the general standards for a special land use review. There are several items. Number 1, be harmonious in accordance with the objectives, intent, and purpose of this ordinance. Number 2, be compatible with the natural environment and existing and future land uses in the vicinity. Number 3, be compatible with the Heartland Township Comprehensive Plan. Number 4, be served adequately by essential facilities and public services such as highways, streets, police, fire protection, drainage ways, and structures, refuge disposal, and that the persons or agencies responsible for the establishment of the proposed use shall be able to adequately provide any such service. Number 5, not be detrimental, hazardous, or disturbing to the existing or future neighboring uses. And finally, not create additional requirements at public costs for public facilities and services that will be detrimental to the economic welfare of the community. So with that said, we'll continue down through the land use review. And number 1, under automotive fueling convenience station, section 4.58, the first item is frontage. Such uses shall have access to and front upon a hard surface and major thoroughfare. This proposal meets that condition with both Clyde Road and Runyon Lake Road being a hard surface highways. Minimum lot width, the minimum lot width within the required for such shall be 200 feet. It meets that requirement. The parcel where the fueling station is proposed is a 284.5 feet width along Clyde Road and 256 foot along Runyon Lake Road. Minimum setbacks, the pump islands shall be a minimum of 40 feet from the public right-of-way or lot line. Tanks, propane, petroleum products shall be set back at least 15 feet from any lot line. Overhead canopies shall be set back at least 20 feet from the right-of-way with materials consistent with the principal building. This site plan does meet all of those requirements. The pump island under the large fuel island canopy is approximately 52 feet from the right-of-way along Clyde Road and approximately 60 feet from the right-of-way along Runyon Lake Road. The closest pump island under the diesel fuel island canopy on the east side of the site is 40.5 feet from the side or east lot line. Ingress and egress drives shall be a minimum of 30 feet at a maximum of 40 feet in width. No more than one such drive or curb opening shall be permitted for every 75 foot of frontage or fraction thereof. The nearest edge of such drive shall be located at least 25 feet from the nearest point of any property zoned or used for residential purposes. These curb openings for drives shall not be permitted where the drive would create a safety hazard or traffic nuisance because of its location. In response to that, the ingress and egress drives from Runyon Lake Road are 30 foot wide. The access drive from Clyde Road is 40 feet. Two drives are more than 75 feet apart. It is the responsibility of the Livingston County Road Commission. They have the jurisdiction over this access to Clyde and Runyon Lake Road. The applicant has been working with those agencies regarding the placement of these two drives. The layout, gasoline pumps shall be located so that motor vehicles do not park on or extend over abutting landscapes, sidewalks, streets, buildings, or adjoining property. This proposal complies with that standard, and the layout relative to the location of the gas pumps, no vehicle washing is proposed. Under the area of screening, while adjoining residential districts, a solid fence or wall 6 foot in height shall be erected along any common lot line consistent with the applicable standards of section 5.11 and 5.20. This proposal meets those requirements under the general commercial zoning of the stated property. Outdoor storage, there shall be no outdoor storage or display except within an area defined on the site plan. They are proposing two 6 by 15 foot covered outdoor sales areas, and they will have a 4 foot masonry wall to screen both the outdoor sales area. Traffic impact, an analysis of traffic impacts shall be provided in conjunction with the site plan. The applicant has provided details on this in an email dated December 29th. Lighting, a canopy is subject to lighting standards provided in section 5.13 of lighting. So that takes us down to a site plan review. Is there any questions or comments from the Lighting Commission?
I do have something to add, Chair Mitchell. The applicant just tonight has handed, each of you, I placed on your desk area. I put a couple extra copies up here on our public viewing table. They dropped off this document, and in this document, they have a, from Julie Kroll, she's with Fleece and Vanderbrink. She's prepared a traffic impact analysis here. She's had some conversations with the County Road Commission, so she's also attached in the back of that an email correspondence from the Livingston County Road Commission. I have also spoke with Mike Gorel with the Livingston County Road Commission. The proposed development, and I am not a traffic engineer, but the County Road Commission is of the opinion that this development will not generate sufficient traffic to warrant a traffic impact analysis, but Julie Kroll has provided such a document for, if I know you haven't had an opportunity to look at it, but effectively I tried to skim it. I have looked at traffic studies enough. The proposed project does not appear to warrant any improvements to the intersection of Runyon Lake Road and Clyde Road, just to give you a quick 20-second synopsis. But if you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer, but
Okay.
again, I'm not a traffic engineer, so.
Thank you, Troy. Any other questions or comments?
I actually wouldn't mind if the applicant is able to walk through, at least briefly, maybe highlighting some points from the impact assessment and the traffic assessment, just because getting this information at the table, it makes it difficult to then make a decision tonight on something. But if you're able to at least highlight anything that maybe is different or in addition to what we've already been given, it would be helpful in knowing that.
Certainly, be happy to. Again, Mike Knowles with Umlar Group. So we apologize about the late hour of providing a traffic impact assessment and an overall township impact assessment. In reviewing the package for tonight and reviewing the comments, we did note that those were two that we didn't have a formal document on the record for those. There was reasons for that, because a lot of the information that's in the impact analysis, not the traffic just on the impact analysis, is taken care of in many other ways. For example, one of the things you're supposed to do in the impact is to look at the wetlands. Well, we've done that. We hired Dana Knox with ASTI to do the wetland delineation. She did the report. And in consultation with Eagle, who has jurisdiction over the state's wetlands, determined that it was not a regulated wetland. So while we already had a report with that information, those types of things weren't consolidated into one impact statement. So that's why we went ahead and put that together, as well as the traffic. So the traffic assessment that Julie Kroll put together, you'll see her recommendation is on the last page of that, and it reads, the projected recommendations, the projected traffic volumes generated by the proposed development can be accommodated within the existing roadway network. No mitigations are recommended as part of this proposed development plan. So that recommendation is the recommendation that Livingston County Road Commission had already come to that conclusion, and your consultants had already come to that conclusion because the amount of traffic that is generated by a commercial site of this size and this use can be strictly dictated by traffic study rules. There's what kind of uses generate trips and how many trips per day. And you'll see the charts that are in there will show you that there's already a network nearby, as talked about by some of the folks here, including Clyde Road, Runyon Lake Road, US 23, and they're listed in Table 3 about what those average daily traffic volumes are. There's 77,000 cars going by the site every day. 77,741. Excuse me. 77,741. This site, peak generation in and out in the peak hour is 171 is the maximum peak generation of the 77,000. So what this is saying, and what the traffic study does say, is that this site itself is not really going to generate new traffic. It's going to divert existing traffic to stop, get fuel, get a water, get a snack, and continue on their route. It's not a traffic generator, it's a traffic diverter. It diverts traffic into its business, and then it goes on its regular route. So that's the gist of what the traffic study says, and it comes to the conclusion that the Road Commission already came to. Now, regarding the late hour of submittal, of course, nobody expects you to look at the whole report or to take my word for it. The applicant is happy to have a professional review or review by your staff of the information that we provided tonight as a condition of approval tonight, because you haven't had time to digest that. There are many conditions in the approval right now as written in your review packet. For example, we're obligated to get a road commission permit for the entrances. We're obligated to get health department permission for the wells. we're obligated to prepare construction documents. Some of the speakers tonight talked about some of the details of the sewer or the stormwater. Those will all be forthcoming in the final documents. In your package tonight, you're approving the special use that the gas station can go there in compliance with your zoning. It's not a rezoning. This is a by right zoning. It's a special use and site plan approval within a current existing zoning. So you're permitted under a special use to add any conditions. And so you can, just like all of those other administrative reviews, take care of the fire marshal's requests, take care of the landscape review, take care of the engineering comments. Many of those comments are standard comments. Add the standard details, add, pipe profiles, do the stormwater management volume calculations. It's all part of the normal construction document process and permitting process. We're happy to make this a condition as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, let us continue with the site plan review. I am now at the bottom of page 6 or page 24 of your packet. Under applicable site standards, number 1 is an impact assessment in traffic generation. I think we have pretty much reviewed those to the best of our capabilities for the time being. Any comments or questions on those? Moving on, dimensional requirements under general commercial, section 3.1.14. The lot size requires 40,000 square foot without sewer, 20,000 square foot with sewer. This parcel is with sewer, so it does meet that requirement. The frontage required for a minimum lot width of 120 feet. The proposed is 284 lineal feet along Clyde Road and approximately 256 lineal feet along Runyon Lake Road, so it does meet that requirement. Building setbacks for the front, which is the south side of the building on Clyde Road, it's required for an 80-foot. They're proposing 117. On the front west, which faces Runyon Lake Road, required is 80 foot. They're proposing 111. In the rear or north with sewer, it's 40 foot. They're proposing 44 and a half. And on the east side, 15 feet. And they're proposing 120 and a half feet. So it meets all of those building setback requirements. Building height required is 35 feet or 2.5 story. They're proposing a 27 foot to the top of their decorative baluster at the corner of the convenience store. Each fuel station canopy has a height of 20 feet, so it meets the requirement. Lot coverage required is 75% maximum. They're proposing 7.7%, so they meet that requirement. Under dumpster enclosure, the dumpster design is enclosed and is screened per the requirements. Dumpster materials must match the building. Proposed is a 10 by 10 foot concrete pad in front of the dumpster with a 6 foot high brick with block louver pattern. The landscaping provided around the enclosure by evergreen trees, so it meets the requirements of the ordinance. Off-street parking. The ordinance requires 2 spaces per pumps. We have 9 pumps, which would be a total of 18 spaces, plus 1 space for every 2,000, or for every 200 square feet of gross floor area devoted to the retail sales. So that's 80% of 6,000 square feet, which equals 4,800 divided by the 200 for that's 24 spaces, plus one space for each employee, which they're proposing 2 employees. So that equates to 44 parking spaces required. Their proposal has 42 parking spaces. I'll drop down through the details because the 3 diesel pumps that are shown on their drawings are proposing for a 1 vehicle only space. So I think the applicant has provided some detail as to why they are proposing 1 vehicle for those 3 pumps. And if you would like to elaborate.
Yes, sir, I'd be happy to. So these 6 pumps are for cars. These are the gas pumps over here, and there are 2 spaces. You can pull up on this side of the pump, pull up on this side of the pump. 2 people can fuel at the same time. These pumps, these 3 pumps, 1, 2, 3, right over here, are the diesel pumps. And so they're configured a little bit differently. So they're configured with a 17-foot wide separation between them instead of the required 10 feet between them, so that a truck driver can pull a vehicle in here, and oftentimes they have tanks on both sides of their rig. They can fill up both of their tanks at the same time. They can walk around their rig and do their safety inspection. They don't have to pull hoses across their rigs to reach the hose across to one side or the other side. So this is set up for the safety and efficiency for trucks, large vehicles, large rigs fueling their vehicle, which is why we don't have 2 spots. In about the same space, you could theoretically go down to, we're not advocating this, this is not what we're advocating, but you could go down to 2 pumps and have 2 trucks fueling on both sides. You would need 3 more feet to do it, so we'd have to change some things slightly to be able to make that work. And that would meet the letter of the ordinance, but that is not the most efficient and safe operation of the diesel pumps for this truck operation, which is why we have it that way. So you'll notice that we're short 2 spaces. We're actually short here 3 spaces, but we have 1 more in all the other parking requirements that are required for floor area and employees and all that. We have an extra space. So that's why the delta, the net is 2 differential. We're short 3 spaces here because we're doing 1 truck on each side, and then we have 1 extra on the rest of our parking, which is why that 2 space difference. And that's the explanation. It's for efficiency, it's for safety of the drivers, and to be able to have the wider area to do the safety inspection and to be able to fuel both tanks at the same time.
Mike, I had a question. I'd like to comment. So to the applicant, you feel that 2 employees is really the quantity of employees you would need to run your convenience store or gas station?
We do. In fact, most of the time there'll only be 1 employee there. So this is not a full service gas station. So nobody's going to be going out to the pumps and pumping gas and washing windows. And, I appreciate Mr. Abo's comments earlier. He seems like a real philanthropist for the community, and we're not looking to impede his business in any way. He has a 35-person operation. He does a whole lot more at that operation. They have liquor sales, and they have some food operations and different things at that location. This is a convenience store and a gas station. So people will come, they'll fuel up, they'll go in, they'll grab their Fritos and their water, pay for their gas, and go on their way. So it's a different operation.
So do you have, are there similar fuel stations of a similar size that the applicant operates with the similar staff?
Yes. So we currently have 7 of these gas stations that we are processing at this time for Mr. Yatuma. We've got a couple of others that we're doing for other applicants. I don't have the full list of how many Mr. Yatuma has, but I'm sure that Vito could help me out with the number of stations that the Yatuma companies have operating at this level, if you allow me to ask Vito to come forward to answer that. Thank you.
So these convenience stations are actually marketed as Red Barn markets. They're 2-employee operations, and we have 15 of them across the Midwest. They're not an investment group. This is a family-owned business. It's Michael, his brother, and his father. We're not partners with Marathon. We have nothing to do with them. These are very successful businesses, and they do a very, very nice job, and they run a tight ship. Everything they do is very high class, and it's clean. He's got employees that come in and train new employees. He actually staffs from within the company that he runs. And if there was an instance where they needed more employees there, he wouldn't develop the property this way. This is a model that we're putting together and we're building in other locations. So thank you.
It does seem interesting that a business like that could run with 2, so thank you for that explanation.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
I have a comment and a question. I can appreciate the safety desire for the drivers and also the space needed, because I know some people who drive big things, so they always appreciate the space. I do have a question. Number one, if you could clarify, are these strictly diesel pumps?
They are.
I know that was a question
Yes.
or comment from some of the public.
Yes.
And then another one, this is kind of ties more to the lot size than anything else, so we kind of jump past that quickly. But just with the curve there to the north, is that turning radius, is that something that is designed based on a certain size vehicle or something of that nature? So that was just one thing I just noticed looking at this on how that was determined, and if that is adequate space when you think of the lot size, is it big enough and that type of thing?
Absolutely. So that was, I mentioned to you that we went through several iterations of the plan. I think we probably did 5 or 6 of them before we ever even submitted anything. And that's one of the considerations is we have truck templates for the trucks that we're anticipating that will be fueling here to be able to make this turn radius from either this pump location, or this pump location, to be able to, take an 18-wheeler, refuel it, make the turn, and that's part of how we designed this configuration so that they can come in, they can fill up, and they can exit in a safe passage with being able to make all the turning radii that they need to make.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And so to expand on that, thank you, Michelle. I had the similar questions. And so the loading zone, that is accessible, and that's, this is not our line of work. But I'm guessing that a 10 by 50 is enough area. That loading zone would mean for, is that when they're delivering fuel and or materials to the store?
Yeah, so it's the loading zone is mostly for the commodities that are going to be in the store for sale, for retail sale in the store. If the Pepsi guy comes and he's got to unload his products. So it is a sufficient area. One of the questions that was asked by the public was, where are the underground tanks for the fuel? And they are in this area over here. And so generally what would happen is the refueling truck would come over into this area, park, and it would be temporarily blocking access to this pump lane while he refuels the fuel tanks.
So and again, that is the plan then, it sounds like, for fuel delivery, is to be on the, I guess that would be the east side, the far east side of the lot.
Yeah, that's correct.
I'd like to comment one thing about the loading zone. We actually deliver all of our own products. We warehouse them in Shelby Township and deliver from our warehouse to the locations. So we only use vans and small box trucks. It's not like we're going to have another 18-wheeler pulling in, delivering supplies. Everything that's in this market here, well, I shouldn't say everything, but about 90% of what's supplied to this comes from our warehouse.
But if it wasn't delivered by a smaller van, it's a large enough area for a typical Pepsi truck is used, for an example, to make deliveries in case that should occur or in case it's under different ownership someday.
It is.
Since we're on the topic about the area between the pumps, is this what you would call a reasonable and customary or standard layout for the distance from pump to pump or the concrete supports that are underneath it?
Yes, absolutely. So, so Marathon has templates and Yatuma has templates for exactly how much distance is needed for the efficient layout. They provide them to us as the civil engineer from the beginning to give us sort of the program specifications for how many pumps and what the spacings are. And it's a standard spacing template that they're using for the 15 that are operating now and for the 7 that we're designing for them for the future.
So what is interesting, just to share, is that I actually did a study between Speedway's layout of the pumps and Mug and Bop's, which is on M59.
Familiar
And
with
yours falls into the same template of width, because we've all experienced pulling into a fuel station and there's seemingly not enough room to park your car, open your door, not step on the concrete pad, and then maybe a passenger open the other door, not bump into I feel comfortable with the width. I just wanted to comment on that because that was something I was mulling around today. And so this is reasonably your standard template.
Yeah, did you want to? Yes, please, Jason, please.
We actually had a setback issue preliminarily in the project with how close the pump was to the property line. And I wanted to reduce the space between the pumps to 15 feet to gain that extra space, but Michael came back and said, no, I need 17 feet. That's the template. That's what we need for that space. But
where would that be on the plan? Could you use your laser if you don't mind?
Yeah, so he's talking about over here. So this was the 17 feet spacing that he's got over here between these pumps. And what ended up happening as a result of that, so that we were able to meet the setbacks, is Michael Yatuma went back to the land seller and bought an additional piece of property so that we were able to meet the setbacks and the pump spacing. So we modified the purchase agreement to be able to comply with the ordinance, which is why you see a fully compliant plan in front of you tonight.
yeah, the point was to maintaining that 17 feet was very important to him. Like reducing it down to 15 was not adequate for him.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay. Moving on, barrier-free parking. There's 2 barrier-free spaces required. They show those 2. So we meet the standard. Parking lot, driveway, and internal road setbacks. On the front, which is the south side of the building facing Clyde Road, it's required to have 25 feet. They're proposing 50. On the west, which is the Runyon Lake Road side, required by ordinance 25 feet. They have 27.6 feet. On the north, which is the rear, it's not applicable. The requirement is 10 feet. And on the east side, which is 10 feet, they are proposing 30 feet. So they meet all of the ordinance requirements for parking lot, driveway, and internal road setbacks. We've already discussed the loading zone space, so if there's additional questions on that, we'll move along. Access management and non-residential driveway standards. The ordinance requires under section 5.10.5.c, the minimum access spacing between commercial driveways on a street with a posted speed limit of 50 miles per hour or greater to be 330 feet. The speed limit on Clyde Road and Runyon Lake Road is not posted, so as a default, it is assumed to be 55 miles per hour. This proposal is not applicable under commercial driveways, and it's not present on the north side of the Clyde Road or the east side of Runyon Lake Road, so the requirement does not apply. Landscaping and screening. We have several areas for landscaping, which include the green belt, foundation, parking lot, perimeter landscaping, buffer and screening. So what I'd like to do, for the sake of time, is open it up to the board and ask, do you have any concerns with the proposed landscaping offered by the applicant? I will comment that the applicant did provide an updated landscaping drawing, so you should be looking at the latest and not what was necessarily in your packet. So, any comments or questions on landscaping?
Is this the latest then that
You're
you're
looking,
showing us? Okay,
you're looking at the latest.
thank you.
Well, earlier we talked about, well, or it's in our letter, about the utility lines and trying to get the kind of the frontage greenbelt trees, work around those lines. On this landscape plan, it's not really showing where those lines exactly fall. It seems like that's kind of a little bit of to be determined, I think you guys are saying.
Yes, absolutely, Commissioner Grissom. I was warned, but I already knew not to get in a debate with you over landscaping because I have been in the business for 30 years and I'm well familiar with Grissom, Metz, and Andres. So the bottom line on landscaping is that we've done everything within our power to try to put forth a plan that meets the ordinance, and we're happy to make any changes administratively that might be required. May it be changing to ornamentals and bushes underneath power lines, moving some screening around, tweaking the plan to your or your consultant's preferences on the landscape. And we've tried to meet the ordinance, and again, if there's some tweaks that we need to make administratively as we process through the construction plans, we're happy to do that.
I think, Troy, when we were working on the Speedway plan a long time ago, they kind of ran into the same problem. So I think we're going to have to kind of go back to our records and see how we work together. I'm sure there's many solutions, but we can maybe go back and kind of study how we handle that, you guys.
We tried to model that other gas station mugs and bops.
Yeah.
Yeah, we tried to model some of the things that they did there with
Sure.
some landscape walls and some different
Right.
types of screening, and we're happy to continue that process as we go through the final construction documents.
Guys, I think that's what we're going to have to do. They've got these utility lines, trying to work around them and kind of look how we can, handle it. I think it can be overcome. The screening that you just mentioned with the walls is, a really nice touch.
Thank you.
So that worked out well. You made some edits, been through a couple rounds.
Yeah.
Around, talking about other screening, you've got a transformer or generator in the back or whatever, and the screening you're using is, it's an arborvitae shrub, which is evergreen, great.
Right.
But our ordinance requires that the height of it be 30 inches minimum, and within 2 years, it needs to be at least 6 inches taller. So I think we need to make a condition. You guys have said like the size of the container, but we just got to make it sure it's a solid screen, so we'll just note that, you guys.
We're happy to agree with that, and I know exactly what you mean, because I've got arborvitaes on both sides of my house, and the ones on the north side of the house are flourishing, and the ones on the south side of the house are not. They were both all planted at the same time, same stock and all that. So,
Yeah.
we're happy to work with the township on that type of
Sure.
thing.
On your plan, I know it's been discussed also, this infiltration trenching.
Yes.
All that. Talk a little bit of some discrepancy. You've kind of got this symbol that you talk about kind of all, it's sodded lawn. But then I saw somewhere else where you talked about like a perennial grass seed over the infiltration trench. So I was trying to clarify what it is, what your intent is.
Yeah, so Livingston County has changed some of its stormwater management standards to require some infiltration where it can be achieved. And so there may be some places on the plan set where we need to clean up whether it is just perennial grass or whether it is a specialty seed mix for the rain gardens or the bioswales or I should say infiltration trenches, the devices for the stormwater management. We're happy to clean up those edits as well, but that's what you will see in those
Sure.
stormwater infiltration trenches is a specialty seed, not a perennial.
Got it. And when I looked at kind of the grading for those trenches, it appears that there's some areas that really don't even slope, like even at a 1% slope. Let's say kind of on the north side, so I'm assuming the water's kind of getting in there. We're going to need that seed because you're not going to be able to mow. It's going to kind of be a bit of a slow percolation down into the soil. Is that?
That's exactly the intent. Yes, ma'am, you're right.
Okay. I think that's my comments that I could see. I mean, we've got our letter that kind of addresses certain things.
Right.
But I think that was what the letter addressed and just a couple other comments.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Any comments or questions? Okay, moving on from landscaping, we move into lighting. And I am now on page 12, or packet page 30, about a third of the way down under lighting. We have intensity required a maximum of a 0.5 foot candle along the property line adjacent to residential. To save verbiage, they meet all of the requirements of the ordinance. Fixture height required 25 feet. They're proposing to be 25 foot to the height of their light poles, so they meet the requirement. Fixture type, details of the lighting fixtures need to be included in specifications for shielding, wattage, and illumination. They're proposing LED light fixtures, which is what is shown on the photometric plan, and so they do meet our requirement. That takes us down to water supply and
Can we back up? I'm sorry if
Yep.
we're going to talk at the same. Sidewalks and pathways,
Oh.
we went right past unintentionally, Mike.
Oh, I'm
It's
sorry.
at the top of 30.
Yes. Sidewalks and pathways required, the planning commission may require sidewalks or safety paths as a condition of the site plan approval. They are proposing a 7-foot wide internal sidewalk, which is provided on the west and south sides of the building. At the front entrance of the building on the south side, that is, the sidewalk is reduced to 5 feet wide in the areas between the columns of the covered entry and the parking lot. Sidewalk and safety paths are not proposed along either of the roadways. The planning department's concerns are with the sidewalk where it's 5 feet wide, and it could be a potential reduction of the sidewalk in the area of the barrier-free parking spots. So in essence, a car could move forward and reduce the width of that sidewalk with its bumper.
Yes, so there is a simple solution to that too. We could add some parking bumper blocks there that would act as wheel stops so that these cars don't go too far into the sidewalk area. It's an easy, clean solution to that concern. We're happy to accommodate that if required.
Also, if I may, Mike, what we do have planned there is for those barrier-free spaces, and that's where we're talking about, where the front entry columns are 5 feet away. We've created in the middle there is the barrier-free access area, which is our entry. We're going to have bollards there. Just like Mug and Bob's, actually, there's bollards there. And also our barrier-free sign will be right at the end of the parking space. So at least at the barrier-free spaces where it's close to 5 feet, there will be no overhang. Because we do have 20-foot deep spaces there.
Oh,
so
okay.
we will have the 5 feet. It won't be impeded by any vehicles overhang with parking.
Okay.
Having a couple bollards and actually the barrier-free sign itself, too.
Very
for
good.
both spaces.
Can I ask, what is a bolyard?
It's a protected device. It's, usually seen they're like 4 feet high, and it's around, round, concrete filled sometimes, and then they put a nice plastic.
Yeah, it's a post.
Bollard, yeah, sorry.
It's a
Yeah, no, that's all
concrete
good.
post.
They make all kinds of styles of it.
So the vehicle can,
Cannot leach forward, yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
Can, on the topic, can I, maybe I would ask Troy here, regarding sidewalks on the frontage of the roads, our ordinance, the ordinance does read, correct, that sidewalks should be along the main roads, the road frontage?
In areas where we have a plan, this is not an area that we have a plan for sidewalks on Clyde Road or Runyon Lake Road. Along, like, for example, on M59, that's probably our more common area where we see development. There's a sidewalk master plan to show sidewalks and pathways all the way down that. So when development occurs, we ask, okay, you put in your portion of it, but there's no plan here.
For this area of the township, okay. All right, thank you, Troy.
Any other questions or comments?
I missed something, and I guess I want to kind of offer that up. So I noticed that you guys had used your barrier-free signs to kind of act as your parking bumper,
Yeah.
So you're going to have a base to the sign that's just going to be a little bigger so that when they hit this, the barrier-free sign, it's just not the metal. No.
Well, we potentially could have, they do look very utilitarian, so maybe we
Yeah.
will come up with a
Something a
sign,
little more
post
right there
that's
in the
more
front.
than just the standard
Yeah.
detail.
Yeah, we
There
did
it is.
some, we did some great ones over at a church in Farmington Hills that have sort of a nice exposed aggregate, finish on them. So there's a lot of different
Yeah.
design choices, but yes.
Just right there at your front
It'll be a
door.
volume, it won't just be the C-channel
Yeah.
metal, because that's not really stopping anybody.
Yeah, one thing we did do, and what I like, and Jason and I worked on it, was instead of having a curb with a ramp, we're grading the walkway at the center, so there's no ramp.
Yeah.
From gassing up, you can come right through the center, you have your striping right there,
Yeah.
just having offset,
Yes.
it kind of creates that grand.
Yeah.
Yes. Which I goofed, I forgot one comment on the landscape plan brought in by the planning department. Your one landscape island on the east, if you just squeeze, yeah.
Yeah, we saw that. It's 6
In
inches.
your center, yeah, that's all it is. It's just we have a requirement when we have a landscape island, I'm a certain size. It was just a little shy, but you already figured that out. Okay. I forgot to mention that.
So maybe my turn to back up with all the talk about parking lot, I'm sorry, or parking, is that we discussed earlier, the entrance off Clyde Road is 40 feet,
Yes,
and then the entrance off Runyon Lake is 30 feet.
that's correct.
Troy and I discussed a little bit earlier today, are the reasons the differences are,
I don't know. I know that your ordinance does have that range, because when I was reviewing the compliance, it does have that range. 30 is the minimum, 40 is the maximum. I'm like, oh, we got one of each. I guess we're good to go. But I don't know what the reasoning was.
Yeah.
Jason, can you help me with that?
We looked at, go back to Commissioner Rose' comment too. We looked at the truck turning. I looked at the worst case scenario for the trucks coming in on the east side, if they're pinched all the way to the pump, and then that radius coming around, and what the trucks need to get in and out is not as much of a width coming out on Runyon Lake Road as maybe what they may like to get into off the, making a left turn going off the Clyde Road.
So this is a straight 90-degree turn, and this is a little bit less than that, although it does straighten out to 90 here. But Jason did run the truck templates through there, so.
so at the 40-foot width, at Clyde Road, it doesn't have anything does it have anything to do with making left turns out onto versus right turns, or if cars would be stacked there entering Clyde?
Did you guys do a striping, like a entrance? Normally it's a 12-foot lane is a drive lane, and so in 40 feet, you could have 3 drive lanes. So you could have an in, an out, and you could also have sort of either a little extra room, or you could have an in, a left turn, and a right turn in a 40-foot aisle, where in a 30-foot aisle, it'd be a little tighter. You'd have to go down to 10-foot lanes. Some lanes can go down to 8, so I think we could actually get a right, a left, and an in on both the 30 and on the 40, technically. So I honestly don't have a good answer for you about the difference between the 30-foot and the 40-foot. Jason did some truck turn maneuvering and recommended those.
Would there be striping necessary on the parking lot for that? Thinking more of the entrance off of Clyde?
Yeah, it'd probably be a good idea.
So I think at Mug and Bob's, where we come out onto Clark Road,
Yeah.
I don't think you can make a left turn there because there was concerns about traffic backing up at the intersection of Clark, and I think those stripes might be gone, and I think that's quite honestly violated often. But just curious about the width, and then that just kind of took me into the striping, if that was something that was necessary.
Yeah, so it wasn't something that was required at the site plan level. We're happy to look at it and add striping. We're going to be striping the parking lot anyways with the handicap symbols and the stripes, and it doesn't take much to add that. So if it's something that in consultation with planning needs to be done, we're happy to add that. There's plenty of room to, again, have 3 lanes in both entrances.
Thank you.
So just a comment again, so our 40-foot wide entrance, super wide, we're trying to reduce, the impact on our environment. So you don't need the 40-foot when you study. If you do, that's what you need. Otherwise, the tires are going over the curb, but we're always trying to kind of conserve on that pavement.
Let's revert to the trucks coming in.
Yeah.
Left turn lanes, give more space. You have a left turn lane, your right turn lane.
Yeah.
Stop there. You have two vehicles, and then you have the truck trying to come in at
Swinging
the
around.
same time to give them a little bit more room to get through there.
Okay.
Okay.
So just belaboring here, when Mug and Bob's went in, when you turn off of M59 and you pull in, we commented that it seemed like there was a sea of concrete.
Yeah.
Like a sea of parking lot.
Right.
Like, wow, why is all this here? And if it's necessary for safety and for egress, it is just required. It's necessary. But that was a comment I remember we
Right,
made
that's-
that it's and so less lot coverage, etc. Comment.
Awful quiet down at that end.
Just waiting for the next one.
Oh, okay.
Since we covered lighting, I just want to bring up, because, there were concerns about the lighting.
Yes.
Make sure that we address everybody's concerns. You provided a photometric plan,
Yes, we did.
so there's no light intrusion on the
No.
property lines. That's our rules.
Yeah.
That dark sky comment in the shielding, that's going to be submitted so we show that the fixtures keep the light, or how's that all work?
Well, generally speaking, we have a lighting consultant, so based on, obviously they look at the ordinance and we've conformed to the ordinance. So when it comes to light shielding, it's only if if we were to back up to houses, we would house shield them. So in this particular situation, or for this photometric lighting plan, there is no house shields per se. But the LED lights, they're flush. They're not drop down. But you're going to get the light at that spot, but it's not going to, it's 0-foot candles. Which is what the ordinance is 0-foot
Property
candles
line.
at the property lines. Yeah.
Okay.
That was good to address that.
Fine.
Yeah, I guess
Well, and here's a photometric plan, right?
Yeah,
I guess I brushed over that one too quickly.
it's okay.
Okay. Everybody set? Architecture building materials. This is the architecture or proposed materials for the facade of the building. The ordinance has requirements for percentages of the brick or decorative concrete or metal used on the building. There appears to be no issues with that, what you're proposing percentage-wise. However, we do require to see your proposal for what the facade materials will be. So if you have those,
I do have that. I can leave that with Mr. Langer. I can present it right now.
yeah, if you don't mind.
So, yeah, we're really, during the holiday season, Green's sweating a little bit to put together. We work really hard over the first part of the year to get the materials. And part of it is obviously making sure that we can source this material, especially these days and age, gas stations are doing it as well. So basically, obviously, this represents the rendering. And I can get on with you for review. We did make one change, and it's still within the percentages. The split face block that you see at the base here, we have a base of split face block. We decided after looking at some brick to go with the darker, the manganese iron spot pretty name, but that's the base instead of the split face. So it still meets the percentages of brick.
Yeah, could you put your presentation board on the table? So okay.
Vanna, do you mind giving me
Okay.
So, again, this brick here, this was actually going to be the brick for the columns, the pilasters, but we thought it was a nice look here, and then we have the cast stone sill that goes around, and then the white brick, which is a little chalky look to it. And then what we did with the columns, same brick as the base, but it's a serrated, it's a vertical score to it. It's going to look really neat. It surprised me when I saw it. I went for it.
Okay.
And then we've got the metal roof and the metal roof and the metal in front of the building above the front entry, same color, the dark rustic gray. And then as far as the ethos, and then we don't know if we're going to have a metal coping depending on how we detail the ethos coping, but it'll be a silver. And so this is obviously metal, it's not ethos, but we can color match that. So, and the only things we don't have is the aluminum windows, and we can get those to you. We're looking at, we've got samples coming either clear or black. So that's. It's on the rendering,
Great model.
clear aluminum.
Okay.
Aluminum over the windows. And then obviously the pump station, the pump columns will be.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's gonna fall. Just leave it there.
Any comments on materials?
Nice.
My only suggestion would be if my fellow planning commissioners are so inclined, if this were to be moved forward today, is to include the approval contingent on having the materials reviewed and approved by the planning department and the site plan review committee, just so we have more of a chance to review what's being proposed.
We're happy to agree with that condition.
Okay. Other comments? Finally, other requirements. There is a zoning ordinance standard. Currently, there's 2 pole signs that are located within the subject site. One of those signs advertising Spicer Orchard, and another one for the Parsherville Cider Mill. Once the applicant proceeds with the proposed project, those 2 signs will need to come down. So.
Understood.
And that concludes the review of the site plan. We do have letters from the Heartland Township planning, or DPW, also the township's engineering consultants in the Heartland Deerfield Fire Authority. So those were attachments to the packet. So,
Mr. Chairman, I do have one additional comment. I wasn't sure quite where to fit it. not really a question, more of a comment, but it looked like from your site plan that your grading actually extends beyond your property limits. So I'm just pointing that out as whether or not the conversation's been had with neighboring properties about grading easements and such, but would be a path that you would probably need to go down as you secure permits for the project.
Yeah, that is noted in one of the reviews. I can't remember which one
Okay.
that did call out an offsite easement that would be required. As mentioned earlier, this property is a parcel split in combination from a larger piece. So the neighboring property is a cooperative party because they're the seller.
I figured, yeah.
Yeah.
We actually already got the easement drafted, and we provided it as part of the purchase agreement, which we provided to Troy.
Okay.
So we already have that 20-foot grading easement. And to talk to you about some of the other concerns, there's actually a swale to divert their offsite drainage to continue, their storm water management on their property, and we manage their storm water management on our property, so.
Okay.
Before we move on, I'm kind of reviewing my notes of the public's questions to make sure that we have covered everything that they have concerns with. Regarding, this property is not going to be rezoned. It's already commercial zoning. So that's not what we're here for tonight. The wetland area, we do have a email from Eagle stating that they do not believe that this area that they would like to fill is a concern to them as a wetland. In regards to the monument signs, that will be a different review. The applicant will need to provide the planning department the size, location, and any other requirements of signage as a separate request. The Planning Commission does not evaluate monument signs. That's all done internally by the planning department. The traffic issue, we received comments from traffic generation, and there are comments concerning the number of vehicles that this site proposal would bring, and they do not believe it requires any additional improvements to either Runyon Lake Road or Clyde Road. We got an answer to where the storage tanks will be located. I asked the applicant to detail that information on the construction plans.
Yes, sir. It is on one of the other sheets.
Oh, okay.
Just not the one that was on the screen.
Okay. And I think that's all I had listed. Did anybody out there take any other comments or questions?
I just want to make a general statement that I can appreciate and understand some of the concerns that were stated regarding specifically infrastructure and the review process on the stormwater side and the sanitary sewer side, and then even some of the concerns with traffic. But I have very much confidence in the agencies that I know that will be reviewing these plans and issuing permits for these different components. So I just want to state that as a planning commissioner, for the things that I am supposed to look at and approve and review and approve, I know that there are other agencies and processes in place to take a very in-depth look at some of these things, and I truly believe that any concerns that come up will be noted and addressed. So I just wanted to make that statement.
Any other comments?
So, yeah, a comment that I would have is, regarding the call to the public and everyone's concerns, which we look at very closely here, and it's very important to us. When it comes to traffic and the study, if I'll call it a study that we received tonight, if we're considering adopting this tonight, I guess I would just like to confirm that the thought is that we don't need to go forward with a traffic impact study. And if this is actually enough, this document we received, to get us past that point. So that would kind of be my concern. And I would curious what other, the other commissioners feel on that, and just everyone's comfort level there. That would be my only comment.
Any other comments? Okay, at this time, I'm open to recognizing a motion. If someone is so too.
I guess I feel like that deserves a response back, and I'm not sure what to say because we did just get this today, but I am able to kind of see what's going on here, and you did explain it a bit. And I believe, Fleece and Vandenbrink, is that somehow tied to Umler Group, or is that a third party?
No, it's a third-party traffic
Okay, so
consultant.
that would be my only thing, is if it wasn't a third-party assessment, then perhaps we would need something
No,
more.
it's a third-party assessment. It just happens that Jason Fleece of our office
I know,
is
I knew there
related
was a
to
connection.
some of the folks there.
Okay.
But Julie Kroll, the author of that report, is been operating in the industry for a very, very, very long time. She does traffic reports for us for all different kinds of clients, as well as others like Rowe and some of the other well-known traffic consultants in the area. So there's no connection between Umlor and Fleece and Vandenbrink.
She's actually done studies in Hartman Township.
So I somewhat agree. I mean, I frequent that intersection, and I somewhat agree with the perspective that perhaps it's a shift in traffic that would be occurring to some extent. Maybe not completely, because people, seeing another gas station and their freeway may exit, but I do see a lot of shifting in where people are going from that perspective. And then I just wanted to note too, on these site trip numbers, a good majority of these counts, because you mentioned a really big number that might have scared some people, but a good majority of those are actually counts on the freeway, right?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to make that clear too, because when you say 77,000 total are in this vicinity, a good portion of them are actually on the freeway. It's not 77,000 traveling Runyon Lake and Clyde Road.
That's
Is that
the background.
correct?
That's what's there.
Okay.
And those are the customers that'll be coming to the gas station.
Okay.
And it's talking about how many of them will be coming in and out of the gas station. And that's when you start looking at those 70 per hour at the max rush hour numbers and the smaller numbers in other times.
So I feel that this study does give information about the existing situation. I also would be hesitant to say, do a full traffic or a different traffic assessment when you have one here, because I'm not so sure what may come out of that would change anything in my perspective. I'll just say that because, I don't know, there's only so much I think that somebody building in this site can do. You essentially would have nobody ever build unless the roads themselves are improved or traffic lights are put in, which is somewhat out of the control of any of us here. So, those are my comments, I guess, for what they're worth.
Thank you.
Is there general consensus across the planning commission to move forward with more than what we've already been given.
So my comment would be just where we just were when it comes to traffic is my primary concern. I know the area, I exit there almost daily southbound. So there, and depending on when you're there, there's, it's a busy area. And I guess we'd have to look at in adding this fueling station, convenience store, how much is that going to really increase? I don't know, how you come up with a real number there. If it's marginal, you're going to get more people that are going to exit. That's the plan. That's the goal. That's competition was mentioned. So, I don't know, what to say if that's necessary or not. If you, Michelle, feel that, I don't know this group. I don't know, not to say they wouldn't be trustworthy, but if it's a fair report that is reasonable, I would be fine with that.
If I may, let me reiterate something I had suggested earlier. We've been talking for a very long time. Your motion tonight, should you support this project, is conditioned upon all of your consultant reviews and comments that are within your packet. We'd be happy to also make one of your consultants, if outside third party or somebody else, review of our traffic study and its conclusions as part of this approval. Because the reason that none of your consultants asked for it before is because the traffic associated with this development is so small compared to the traffic that's out there. It's also the reason that Livingston County Road Commission said, no, we don't need a traffic study for this gas station at this location. We did one because we wanted to make sure we checked the box. We didn't want to be left without having addressed the comment that says you didn't do one of these. So we did one real quick. And the difference between doing one real quick and doing a full traffic TIS is that we would put the tubes out and measure actual cars. And what you're going to find, which is what we found in every community, we found it in Commerce, we found it in a number of other communities, is because the traffic counts are generally lower now because of COVID. Fewer people are moving around. That the road commissions are asking us to go back to the historical data, which is what we did for this report, and use that instead because the traffic counts are higher. So again, my suggestion would be to make a professional review of our traffic impact analysis that we've submitted to you, a condition of your recommendation for approval to the board. We'd be happy to go with that to give us additional comfort.
So I think that sounds more reasonable to me.
Yeah, I guess I will take an opportunity to make a comment. I am also uncertain how much traffic this business will additionally generate. So I'm going to reflect back on the consideration that we gave to Muggs and Bops at the time that they wanted to build, and the concerns with the two driveways on Clark Road, and all of the public comment about the traffic on Clark Road, especially during peak school bus time and everything. So I think that has shown itself not to be a concern. Obviously, there's a lot of traffic that uses Clark Road to get to the schools, but the two driveways that Muggs and Bops offer onto Clark Road pretty much have handled themselves. And Muggs and Bops has a drive-through Dunkin' Donuts, so in the morning especially, there is a lot of traffic exiting that road. And when I've been up there, they typically exit onto Clark Road so they can use the stoplight at Clark and M59 to make the turn. Trying to enter into M59 off of the 59 entrance and exit at times is very difficult with the amount of traffic. So I say this in regards to concerns about the amount of traffic, and I know that intersection up there at Clyde and Runyon Lake Road and Expressway exit is busy, there is backup, but again, I don't know how much extra traffic this convenience store fueling station will add to that. So I don't think it's any reason to not move forward. So that's my opinion.
Okay, well, I will make a motion to recommend approval of site plan with special land use application number 22-001, a request to construct an approximate 6,000 square foot convenience store and automobile fueling station on a vacant parcel in section 4 of the township, north of Clyde Road and east of Runyon Lake Road, tax parcel ID number 4708-04-300-001 and 4708-04-300-002. The recommendation for approval is based on the following findings. Number one, this proposed special land use automobile fueling and convenience station meets the intent and purposes of the ordinance, as well as the specific special use standards outlined in section 6.6 special uses. Number two, the proposed use is permitted in the GC general commercial as outlined in section 3.1.14 D8 is 18, and the proposed use is compatible with the existing uses in the vicinity. The proposed use will be served by public sanitary sewer by existing essential facilities and public services, and the fire department has no objection. Number four, the proposed use will be served by public roads with direct access to Clyde Road and Runyon Lake Road, and the proposed development is located adjacent to an entrance and exit ramp from US 23, which is a divided highway. Number five, the proposed use will not create additional requirements at public cost for public facilities, as the proposed site will be served by public sanitary sewer and private on-site well water. The approval is subject to the following conditions. Number one, the proposed special land use automobile fueling and convenience station is subject to approval by the Township Board. Number two, the applicant shall adequately address the outstanding items noted in the Planning Department's memorandum dated January 6, 2022 on the construction plan set, subject to an administrative review by the planning staff prior to the issuance of a land use permit. Number three, a land use permit is required after approval of the site plan and special use permit and prior to construction. Number four, prior to the issuance of a land use permit for construction, the applicant shall provide product information on all building facade materials, specifications, manufacture, and color to the Planning Department for review by the Planning Department and Site Plan Review Committee. The facade materials may require approval by the Planning Commission. Number five, the property shall obtain all necessary approvals through the land division process. And number six, the applicant complies with any requirements of the Department of Public Works Director, the Township Engineering Consultant, Heartland Deerfield Fire Authority, and all other government agencies as applicable.
So the other conditions?
Would you like me to add in?
Yes.
Number seven, the township will engage in professional review of the traffic study cost, which will be covered by the applicant.
Was that all? Yeah, that was it? Yeah.
Okay.
Support?
We have a motion by Commissioner LaRose, support, second by Commissioner Grissom. Any comments or questions on the proposed motion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed?
Nay.
Thank you.
Motion carries.
Yeah.
Thank you. And congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay,
One down.
one down.
Start off the year with a bang.
sometimes we take a break. I don't know if we need to. Sometimes people go to the restroom or something.
You want to offer up a break?
I don't mind. Take a 5-minute break?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Take a 10-minute break? We will take a 10-minute break, so we will resume at 9:20 on the second site plan application.
I don't know if it's the cloud from a pen or a beam from a, yeah, anything. I don't know that. Oh, did you? Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, okay. Tony Delacolli, yes, exactly. Oh my gosh.
So it's been years since I was like, oh, so that's.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. And we just moved. Yeah, so we were in downtown Northville, is that what you're saying? Yeah, thank you. And what happened was, we were just leasing a space and got a new landlord, and he's in the trucking industry, and his work exploded. He's like, I could charge myself more rent than you guys, so bye-bye. So we got kicked out, but we lucked out because we moved into, it's just south of us, Plymouth Township, part of Heinz Park, Northville Road, and it's an Albert Composite building that was a mill, 100 years ago they built it, an industry kind of like mill facility, and we're up on the second floor. Heinz Park is our backyard. It's got red brick, tall windows, and it's way cool. So we lucked out. Yeah, that was all summer trying to move, but it's all good. Yeah, so let me write down your name so I can say what. Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. Yeah, so you're not with Cityscape anymore? Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, because I kind of work on the 2 jobs too, but it's kind of. I love that because I saw that on the bill. And she just sent it, yeah, it's still with JKRA. She's awesome. Oh. Oh, really? Okay, what's your wife's name? Heather. Yeah, I feel like I've heard of her too. That property. So, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Wow. Yeah, thank you so much for introducing yourself.
I've never met the other half. It's always been Menace.
I know. Yeah, and I don't know a whole lot about your company now too. So it's, I see Whitmore Lake. So you guys, how's that going? Yeah. Oh my gosh, huge. Okay. Yes. 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 Wow. Okay, well, good for you. Kind of fun. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Until he got a letter in the mail, and he got a letter in the mail is property. So, I mean, and that's